Have you ever said something you instantly regretted, wishing you could grab the words mid-air and pull them back? It's like watching an arrow leave the bow, only to realize too late it was never meant to fly. But what if you could train yourself to never fire that arrow in the first place? What if every word you spoke reflected not just intelligence, but self-control, grace, and wisdom? Today, we're diving deep into a powerful idea rooted in the ancient teachings of Stoicism. 6 things truly intelligent people never say. These aren't just rules for sounding smart. They are principles for becoming someone who commands quiet respect through speech. Stoic philosophy reminds us that words are not just sounds. They are echoes of your mind, mirrors of your values. They reveal more about your character than your actions sometimes can. From the subtle art of holding back unnecessary praise for oneself, to the strength that lies in silence, what you say shapes how people see you and even how well you see yourself. And here's the best part. By the end of this journey, you'll walk away with practical, Stoic-based insights that can elevate your speech immediately. Whether you're navigating high-pressure meetings, casual conversations with friends, or the quiet dialogue inside your own mind, this is about more than speaking. It's about becoming. So let's begin. This isn't just a lesson on language. It's a blueprint for personal transformation. 1. Avoid bragging about your knowledge. Have you ever been around someone who just can't stop listing their achievements? They'll tell you about every book they've read, every lesson they've learned, every challenge they've conquered. At first, it might seem impressive, even inspiring, but over time, that admiration fades into quiet discomfort. Why? Because instead of connection, their words create distance, not due to the value of their knowledge, but because of how it's delivered. According to Stoic philosophy, true wisdom never needs to prove itself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nature does not boast about what it creates, and neither should we." Wisdom that shouts loses its power. It's the quiet thinker in the corner, not the loudest voice in the room, who often holds the deepest insights. Let me share a quick story. Years ago, I had a colleague, let's call him John, brilliant. In his field of technology, John had built a name for himself. But in every meeting, he made sure everyone knew it. He'd bring up complex systems he'd developed, drop the names of awards he'd won, and steer conversations toward his accomplishments. Initially, people were intrigued, but gradually his confidence began to feel like a spotlight. He kept aimed at himself. Instead of admiration, it stirred unease. Until one day a brave co-worker pulled him aside and said, "John, your knowledge is incredible, but the way you share it makes others feel small." That moment of honesty shifted everything for John. He finally realized that in his efforts to impress, he was actually creating distance, repelling the very connections he hoped to build. And maybe, without knowing it, you've done the same. It's a subtle trap that many intelligent people fall into. When the urge to share your knowledge or achievements strikes, pause for a moment and ask yourself, why am I really saying this? Is it to uplift, inform, or contribute? Or is it driven by the quiet desire to be admired? If it's the latter, it's worth stepping back to reconsider. Because here's the truth. Boasting doesn't just dull the impact of your words, it builds invisible walls, walls that separate you from others. Instead of drawing people in, You might unintentionally make them feel measured, compared, or even small. Stoic philosophy offers a clear and powerful remedy. First, let your actions be your voice. If you genuinely possess wisdom, it will naturally shine through the way you live, the problems you solve, and the calm confidence you carry. Second, embrace humility. Now don't confuse humility with shrinking yourself. True humility isn't about pretending to know less. It's about creating space for others to see your value through experience, not performance. And third, become a listener. Listening is not passive. In the Stoic worldview, it's one of the most commanding expressions of strength. Silence, when chosen, speaks volumes. It signals self-assurance, presence, and respect. John gradually began to understand this. He shifted his focus from being the center of every discussion to truly hearing the people around him. He asked questions, he paid attention, and little by little, the dynamic changed. People no longer saw him as someone seeking the spotlight, but as someone worth listening to, someone who brought thoughtfulness, humility, and collaboration to every exchange. He became proof of a deeper truth. Wisdom isn't about declaring your knowledge, it's about sharing it in a way that makes others feel seen and supported. So, remember, avoiding boastfulness doesn't mean silencing yourself. It means speaking with intention and presence, so your words build bridges, not barriers. Stoic teachings remind us that our speech reveals our inner world. And when you choose humility over arrogance, you don't just change how others see you, you transform how they feel around you. So pause and ask yourself, what are your words really saying about you? That reflection leads us into the second principle, one just as essential to mastering your speech. 2. Never dismiss others' opinions. Have you ever spoken up only to be cut off, ignored, or casually brushed aside before you even finished your sentence? It stings, doesn't it? In the last section, we explored how humility in speech can transform the way people relate to you. Now, let's go deeper, because humility isn't just about how you speak. It's also about how you listen, and sometimes the harm we cause comes not from what we say, but from what we refuse to hear. Have you ever shared a thought only to be met with silence, a brush-off, or worse, a quick dismissal? It's more than frustrating. It can make you question your own worth. Was that idea really so unimportant? Am I just wasting everyone's time? I know that feeling too well, because I've been on the other side. I was the one who caused it. Early in my career as a team leader, I took pride in making fast decisions. I believed speed equaled strength. During one particular meeting, a colleague suggested a change to our workflow. Without hesitation, I cut in. "That won't work," I said. "Let's move on." I thought I was saving time, being efficient. But what followed was far more telling than I realized. A room full of silence, people exchanging uncertain glances. The energy, gone. The discussion, flat. No one spoke up after that. Later that day, a trusted colleague pulled me aside. "Maybe," he said gently, "you should have let him finish. It wasn't such a bad idea." That single sentence landed like thunder. In trying to lead, I had shut down a voice, and along with it, a chance to grow. Stoic philosophy warns us of this exact trap. True wisdom comes from openness, not pride. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, You cannot learn what you think you already know. When you shut someone down before they've finished, you're not just blocking an idea. You're sending a message. Your thoughts don't matter here, and that message weakens everything: trust, creativity, collaboration. That moment changed me. I realized that being a leader, or simply being wise, doesn't mean having all the answers. It means having the humility to seek answers, even in places you might not expect. In every meeting that followed, I made a conscious choice: listen fully, not because I had to agree, but because every voice deserved the chance to be heard. And something incredible happened. When I stopped jumping in to correct or critique, the room came alive. People began sharing more, thinking out loud, building on each other's thoughts. Together we discovered breakthrough ideas I would have never seen on my own. That experience taught me a subtle but powerful shift in thinking. Instead of asking, "How can I prove this wrong?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Even a rough, imperfect idea might hold the seed of innovation. And even if it doesn't, you gain a deeper understanding of how someone else views the problem. And that's a form of wisdom too. Lastly, remember this: when you instantly dismiss someone else's opinion, you place yourself above them, as if only your view holds weight. But Stoicism reminds us we are not the center of the universe. We're just one part of a larger whole, and that mindset prepares us for the next principle, one that challenges a very common instinct, especially in difficult conversations. 3. Refrain from complaining without purpose. Let's paint a picture. Imagine someone like Peter. He's a seasoned professional in his mid-40s, juggling work deadlines, family responsibilities, and all the usual curveballs life throws at you. He's capable, experienced, and exhausted. But Peter has developed a habit. Instead of facing his challenges with problem-solving or grace, he complains constantly. From coworkers who never pull their weight, to the coffee machine that's always broken, Peter finds fault in everything. At first, his colleagues listened, they empathized. Some even offered helpful advice. But as weeks turned into months, Peter's negativity became a cloud that followed him everywhere. Team chats grew shorter. Lunch breaks turned quieter. People began to avoid him, not out of coldness, but out of emotional fatigue. Then, one day during lunch, a colleague finally spoke up. "Peter," they said gently, "I get that it's frustrating, but what are you doing to change any of it?" That question hit him like a wall. In that moment, Peter realized something hard but true. He wasn't solving anything. He wasn't seeking solutions. He was simply venting again and again. And worst of all, his habit of complaining had become a mirror reflecting helplessness back at him. It's a trap many fall into. When frustrations build up, venting feels like a release. But when repeated without intention, it doesn't relieve stress. It multiplies it, and it doesn't just weigh you down. It pushes others away. What begins as a cry for connection becomes a barrier of negativity. But the Stoics offer us a better way. One we'll explore in the next section. Because it's not that you can never express frustration, it's about how and why you do it. In the last section, we saw how constant, aimless complaining can isolate us, not just from others, but from our own sense of control. The Stoics knew that how we respond to life's inconveniences reveals the depth of our inner strength, and they offered a timeless remedy. When frustration rises, don't pour energy into what you can't change. Instead, focus on what you can control and let go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered voices, captured this perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Complaining about the weather, traffic, or someone else's behavior doesn't change those things. What it does do, though, is reinforce the idea that you're powerless. It traps you in a cycle, one where negativity feeds on itself, leaving you mentally drained and emotionally stuck. But here's the key: not all complaints are bad. When shared with purpose, when they lead to reflection, action, or change, they can be valuable. But when they lack intention, when they are just empty noise, they steal your focus and drain your energy. Think about it. Complaining about the rain doesn't make it stop. Grumbling about a traffic jam doesn't clear the road. Intelligent people, those grounded in Stoic wisdom, understand this. They don't waste their breath on the uncontrollable. They choose instead to direct their energy toward what does matter. So how do you break free from the trap of pointless complaining? Start with one simple question: what can I do about this? If the answer is nothing, let it go. Ventilating. Your frustration over unchangeable circumstances doesn't solve the problem, it just magnifies it. Instead, rechannel that energy. Use it to read, to reflect, or to practice gratitude for the things going right in your life. Shift your focus from what's wrong to what's possible. Another powerful shift: reframe the situation rather than asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" Ask, "What can I learn from this?" Because in Stoic philosophy, every challenge, no matter how small or irritating, is a chance to grow. Complaining blinds us to these opportunities, but reflection, that opens the door to resilience. Let's return to Peter. He took his colleagues' words to heart, and slowly he began to change. Instead of blaming his manager, he began preparing thoughtful solutions. Instead of groaning about his commute, he started listening to audiobooks and practicing mindfulness during traffic. And with that change in mindset, everything else followed. His words became more intentional, less bitter, more constructive. His relationships improved. Colleagues began seeking his advice, drawn to the calm and clarity he now carried. Because when you stop complaining without purpose, you do something powerful. You reclaim control. You stop reacting and start responding with wisdom. And this idea leads us naturally to the next Stoic principle, one that challenges another all too common impulse. 4. Never speak with cruelty when correcting others. In the previous section, we explored how letting go of meaningless complaints can elevate your mindset and strengthen your relationships. But what about those moments when you need to address someone else's mistake? That brings us to another critical Stoic principle, one that defines how wisdom handles truth. Correct, but never with cruelty. It's easy to believe that pointing out someone's error should be direct, even harsh, because after all, the truth hurts, right? But Stoic philosophy urges something deeper. The truth doesn't have to wound to be effective. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it that determines whether your words uplift or destroy. Imagine this: a colleague misses a deadline. You're frustrated, you worked hard. Now the whole project is delayed. You have two options. You can lash out, use sharp words to make a point, or You can take a breath and choose a tone that corrects while preserving dignity. The first option might feel satisfying in the moment, but it breeds resentment, not growth. The second, it builds trust and often earns you respect in return. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "Kindness is invincible, provided it is sincere." He wasn't calling for softness or sugarcoating. He was calling for strength wrapped in compassion. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I was overseeing a team presentation. One team member, new, eager, but inexperienced, made a major error in the final slide deck. It made us look unprepared in front of an important client. I was frustrated. I wanted to react sharply, but something in me paused. Instead of criticizing her in front of the group, I pulled her aside afterward. I said, "Hey, I know how hard you worked. I also noticed a few details that we'll need to tighten up next time. Let's walk through them together so you're set for the future." What happened next surprised me. She didn't shrink or shut down. She leaned in, listened, and thanked me for the feedback. That moment reminded me of something powerful. Correction delivered with care doesn't just fix mistakes, it builds people. When you correct with cruelty, you may get obedience. When you correct with respect, you earn growth. So how can you apply this? Pause before reacting. Let emotion settle so reason can lead. Use specific, respectful language. Critique the action, not the person. Offer a path forward. Don't just point out what went wrong. Show how to improve. The Stoics believed that our words are a reflection of our character, and true character doesn't need to belittle to be heard, because the goal isn't to win arguments or prove superiority. The goal is to help others grow without crushing their spirit. And when you learn to speak with both firmness and grace, you don't just become a better communicator, you become the kind of person others trust, especially when the stakes are high. Up next, we'll dive into a common fear that holds many back, and what the Stoics taught about turning it into strength. 5. Don't deny your mistakes. There's a common belief that admitting a mistake makes you appear weak. But the truth? It does the exact opposite. Acknowledging your faults doesn't lower your worth, it raises it. It marks you as someone honest, strong, and grounded in reality. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone." Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I was managing a high-stakes project at work. The pressure was intense and deadlines were tight. In the rush to meet one of those deadlines, I overlooked a few critical details in a final report. At first, I didn't realize the damage, but when the errors were discovered, they triggered a wave of criticism from upper management, directed not just at me, but at my entire team. My gut reaction: blame the time crunch, blame the overwhelming workload, blame anything but myself. But deep down I knew better. Making excuses would only damage the trust I'd spent years trying to build. So, in the very next team meeting, I did something that terrified me. I took ownership. I admitted the mistake. I apologized genuinely. And I laid out a clear plan to make sure it wouldn't happen again. What happened next surprised me. There was no judgment, no cold glares. Instead, my teammates appreciated the honesty. Some even thanked me for being upfront and for setting an example. That moment reshaped how I saw leadership. I realized that admitting your mistakes doesn't weaken you. It makes you more trustworthy. Why is this so powerful? Because it tears down walls of defensiveness and builds bridges of trust. By taking responsibility, you send a message loud and clear. I value truth over ego. And that creates a culture where others feel safe to do the same, to own their missteps and work together toward solutions. But let's be honest, admitting mistakes isn't always easy. We fear being judged, misunderstood, or seen as incompetent. Yet, ask yourself this: when someone denies a mistake that's clearly their fault, do they seem more capable or less? Do they gain respect or lose it? Owning your mistakes takes courage. But that courage is a signal of deep confidence, proof that you're strong enough to face reality and committed enough to grow from it. So, how do you put this into practice? Start with self-awareness. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to point fingers. Instead, pause and ask, what was my role in this? Even if your part was small, owning it is the first step toward meaningful change. Next, go beyond apologies. Yes, say, I'm sorry, but don't stop there. Show with your actions that you're working to make it right. And as we'll see in the next section, there's one final habit that intelligent, Stoic-minded people avoid. One that, if left unchecked, can quietly undermine every effort to grow. 6. Don't overshare future plans. At first glance, sharing your intentions might seem harmless, even admirable. But the Stoics warn us to tread carefully. Why? Because our words carry weight. And when we speak lightly, especially about things we've yet to do, we risk more than just our credibility. We risk eroding the very trust we're trying to build. Stoic wisdom teaches that promises are not just verbal gestures, they're commitments. And every time we break one, even a small one, we chip away at our reliability. Let me share a familiar story. Meet Jim. He's a warm, friendly professional in his 40s, someone who genuinely means well. His natural instinct? Say yes to everything. Can you help me move this weekend? Will you join the volunteer team at work? Are you coming to the community dinner? Jim's answer? Always the same. Sure, count me in. At first, it made him incredibly likable. He was seen as dependable, eager, and kind. But as life got busier, those yeses began stacking up. He missed deadlines, he forgot events, and slowly his well-meaning promises began to unravel. One evening, a close friend invited him to a special family dinner. Jim agreed enthusiastically, as always, but later, he scheduled a work meeting at the exact same time, completely forgetting the prior commitment. The next day, his friend pulled him aside. Their words were simple, but they stung. You said you'd be there. We were really disappointed. That moment stopped Jim in his tracks. He realized something painful. His eagerness to please in the moment had become a habit of empty promises. He wasn't trying to deceive anyone, but the result was the same. His words, though kind, had lost their meaning. And this is a trap many of us fall into. We overcommit to avoid awkwardness or to appear agreeable. We want to be liked, to be seen as supportive, dependable, but Stoicism urges us to take a different path, one of honesty, one of intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Authenticity is more powerful than approval, and saying yes when we don't mean it doesn't serve anyone. In fact, it causes more harm because nothing disappoints more than a promise left unfulfilled. So how do we avoid this cycle? It begins with a pause. In the last section, we saw how overcommitting and oversharing future plans, no matter how well-intentioned, can quietly damage the trust we've worked hard to earn. The Stoics guide us toward a better approach, one built on intention, alignment, and self-awareness. So, what's the first step to making promises that truly matter? Start with a pause. Before saying yes to a request, take a moment. Ask yourself, does this align with my priorities? Do I realistically have the time, energy, and resources to follow through? If the answer is no, or even uncertain, a respectful no is far more valuable than a hesitant yes that leads nowhere. People don't need vague reassurance. They crave honesty. Clarity builds trust. Unkept promises destroy it. Next, prioritize quality over quantity. It's far better to commit to fewer things and do them well than to say yes to everything and stretch yourself too thin. When you agree to something, do it with intention. Do it with care. This mindset doesn't just protect your time, it builds a reputation of reliability, focus, and excellence. And remember this, saying no is not selfish, it's self-awareness. The Stoics believed in focusing your effort only where you have true control. If you scatter your attention too widely, you dilute your ability to honor the commitments that matter most. Let's return to Jim. After his wake-up call, he began making changes, not by saying yes less, but by saying yes more mindfully. He respectfully declined requests he couldn't genuinely commit to. And when he did say yes, he followed through with care, effort, and presence. Over time, people stopped admiring him for his availability and started respecting him for his integrity. Because in the end, avoiding empty promises is not just about following through. It's about aligning what you say with what you value. When your actions match your words, you build deeper connections grounded in truth. The Stoics remind us, every word you speak shapes how others see you and how you see yourself. So the next time someone asks for a commitment, pause, reflect, and make sure that your promise is one you can honor completely, because that, right there, isn't just wisdom, it's strength. Thank you for being here on this journey. If this video spoke to you, I'd love to hear your story. Whether it's a success, a challenge, or just a reflection, drop a comment below. And if you're not sure what to write, simply type, "I love this wisdom." That alone lets us know you're walking this path with us. Your engagement helps grow a community built on insight, growth, and the timeless art of turning adversity into opportunity. I have added 2 more videos here to keep your journey going, because your path toward wisdom doesn't end here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.